Hello there, namaste. So, the Primal Hunter, Book 1. Now, this book has been in my recommended list for years now, I assume, because I like to read a lot of lit RPGs. I don't know why I never picked this book up. I think it just, the covers seem probably a little too commonplace for me. I don't know. You're not supposed to judge books by a cover. I happened to get the first one, and I'm actually happy that I've waited, because now there's like 9 books that I get to catch up on and just enjoy the journey. It's basically this guy who's a loner. He likes to spend his time alone. He enjoys archery, and I'm like, you know what? I absolutely relate to this character. It's much better to find tasks to do yourself, do things like that. Picking up archery. I have my own bow. I have my own, that kind of. So I was like, I like this dude, and he ends up, and a few of his coworkers get portaled into another world, and I'm like, okay, it's gonna be one of those where him and his friends work together. No, he learns in the beginning that he's built different. His mind is working different, and he basically detaches himself because he doesn't like groups. And I'm like, I'm liking where this is going. And even at the same time, even though he separates himself, he still cares for his friends. And I enjoy that, even though his friends start making poor decisions or just completely becoming different people. Because there's this girl he has a crush on, but he doesn't act on it because he's been, screwed over in the past. And his only real friend at the workplace, even though they don't really know each other, but he considers him a friend, him and that girl end up getting together, yet she ends up turning into this completely different person who uses Jacob and abuses him, and it basically cheats on him, not physically, but through the fact that she lies to him, deceives him, tells him, oh, all this, when all her colleagues, because she worked with them as well, all her colleagues were used as bait or something, and she was aware of it. She knew that the organization they joined, when they all got teleported into this tutorial, she was well aware of they were just used as pawns, all dying off, and she was okay with it. To the point where when they finally met Jake, this is where when Jacob, I don't like the fact that their names were way too similar, because it's just like you're reading it and I'm like, Jake, is this the short for, because I was like, okay, it's the Jacob. It got so annoying sometimes, because I don't like it when books do that, where it's like too similar name. Just name them the same, and it's like Jake 1, Jake 2, and they make a joke about that. Sure, people in the workplace, there's always people with similar names. Either use a middle name or last name, or just call them 1 and 2. But, I mean, he who fights with monster goes around it just calls him Other Gordon? Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And they kept that joke going throughout the books, even though when they reference Gordon once again, the Other Gordon once again. But I gotta say, this book is enjoyable because I like following this character. He's someone who likes to be alone but still cares about the other people, enjoys his life. He's more of a sociopath, not a psychopath, because they introduce a psychopath who is a villain. Kind of, sort of, not really, but he is a villain. He's in the tutorial as well. There's 1,200 people in the tutorial, and what's the worst thing that humans, in a place where it's a challenge based, like you fight to survive, what would be the worst thing in there, even if there are monsters? Well, other people. And it turns out, like, out of the 1,200 people, at the end of the book, there's only like 100 people left. Spoilers, but it's just like, yeah, it's obvious. Because in the very beginning, they're there for like 3 hours, and Jake's the only one who noticed that like 10 people had died or something like that. It's like, it's dangerous, and most likely humans are already taking out other humans. Yeah, but he just has a way of going about it. And I gotta say, I've enjoyed this book. It is absolutely enjoyable. I am disappointed I waited so long to get into it, but also glad I waited so long to get into it, because now I could just go through them, have a new journey to follow. I always enjoy starting a new journey and seeing just how far it's gone, and I'm like, this is a long way to go. It beats the One Piece struggle, right? Those of you who are One Piece fans, where you've been fans for 30 years, well, not 30 years, like over 20 years, like me, and you're just still waiting. It's an enjoyable wait. It's enjoyable to be along for the ride, but sometimes if you're the ones who were lucky enough to start after the show came out, well, you have a long journey to catch up on. But at the same time, that's how I feel. I have a long journey to catch up on. I'm gonna feel kind of annoyed as soon as I get to the tail end if it's not done yet, and be like, now I gotta wait. But I've got plenty of series which I'm going through and enjoying. This book, I like the characters. I like how they're written. I like how I can actually relate to this main character more, like with his interest in archery, with his joy of being alone. Not so much the sociopathic tendencies, but somewhat the sociopathic tendencies. Not psychopathic, because there is a clear difference. I gotta say, I recommend this book. It's a lit RPG, so if you enjoy the isekai type of fantasy where someone gets teleported into another world and then it's got like video game logic, and I like how they reference it, because one thing for me, when I write books, the one thing I struggle with is like when you introduce a magic system, okay, how am I gonna make this make sense in the world? But it's magic. When I'm reading a book, I don't start asking about why does that work like that? Why does that work like that? Why does that work like that? I like how this book kind of answers that, even though nobody's really questioning it. It's just, they call it system effery. I'm not gonna curse, it's just not something I do, but they call it system effery, and I'm like, you know what, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. It's a way of explaining something without having to explain it. Just like you could easily use the joke. They kind of do it in Mark of the Fool, where it's like, oh, a wizard did it. Because it's one of those things where when you start to explain magic, you can't always have it make sense. You can't. I mean, I've tried. And every time I do it, it's just like, oh crap, how am I going to explain this part away now? I could easily say magic, but it just feels like a cop-out. Then I end up trying to write like an appendices, like in for Lord of the Rings, where you write the appendices and the Silmarillion and all this stuff to explain the world around it, which just ends up being all this lore. I mean, it's fun to do, but you don't want to get lost in that kind of stuff. And I gotta say, I like how this writer did it, because it just makes me want to go like, you know what, I just need to bite the bullet and go that route. I need to stop trying to explain everything and just show, because there's something exciting about seeing it all play out. I like the main character Jake. I like his friend Jacob, because he's just got this his guiding personality, the way he's kind of like a mentor. He's that rich friend who was raised properly, not the rich friend who was spoiled and given everything through nepotism. I liked how they wrote him, because they're rare to find, but most people know someone like that. It's just like, oh, okay, he's one of those. Most people who know one, they immediately know who that person is. Most people are more aware of the nepotism ones. But I gotta say, I enjoy that. I enjoy the fact that this relationship starts budding in the world, but the girl changed too much and basically betrayed Jacob, even though she didn't see it as much. Only for, I don't want to spoil too much, but this book is just, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this journey. I enjoyed where it ended. It's basically like almost 60 days have passed, and I think the second book is going to be like the last 15 of the tutorial, because the tutorial lasts up to, I think, 60 days, exactly 60 days. So it's most likely going to end in the next book. The tutorial will be over and then the world will expand. They've already introduced deities. They've introduced like things above, the primordials, which are above gods. And it's just like, I enjoy how all this is kind of playing out. And you can use the system to basically become a god yourself, because they introduce that gods work underneath the primordials. And it's just interesting to go through. Kind of fascinating. And I gotta say, I'm excited to see where it goes. Thank y'all for watching. Talk to you next time. Toodles!